Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute, it's been a few days, about a week or so since I've posted on here, so I am sorry for my absence. But a lot has happened and I just really wanted to update you guys, if you haven't already seen it, that Meghan Markle is now desperately making her way back to social media in the form of YouTube. She has recently made an appearance on a Storytime YouTube channel and she has rammed her bench book down the throats of the vulnerable and the innocent at the back of her $14 million mansion, and she has decided to yet again ram this god-awful book down our throats. Not only has she recently done that, she has also sent individual copies of this book out to young children over in America in order to drive more sales. And all I can really deduce from this is that she quite clearly feels as though it is a very well written novel. And she also must feel that she is not driving enough sales. Now we know that she's been given a rather large advance lump sum payment for the publishing of this book because of her status, which she has been peddling and using consistently since she left the royal firm, because that seems to be her only major real tangible claim to fame, and therefore she has to deliver. She has to deliver according to the amount of money that she's accepted. Now, I do not believe for 1 second that this book is extremely engaging for the age group that she is targeting. I feel as though the colours are extremely muted and too simplistic to hold the attention of children, and the storyline is rather bland. It's not going to be extremely stimulating for the inquisitive young mind of that age group. That's just my personal opinion. The sales quite clearly are flagging. The book has quite obviously begun to tank significantly, and therefore she is now running this desperate PR campaign to stay relevant. But that's not the most outstandingly embarrassing thing about this new move. What is quite outstanding about her appearance on YouTube is the simple fact that she is on YouTube and she's actually using social media in a direct capacity in order to promote her book. Now, if you have followed this channel since last year, of course, you will be aware of the fact that Meghan Markle gave a speech and she was interviewed and she directly said that social media is toxic, that it needs to be reformed, that it needs to essentially be shut down, and that most people shouldn't have any access to it. And quite simply, that she feels as though those who are using social media are addicts of some form, and you can compare it to a drug addiction. That's essentially what she said about social media users, which would include yourself if you consume content on YouTube, if you consume content or engage in active exchanges on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, and any of these online platforms, which I think can be very positive and highly beneficial for the transference of information and entertainment, of course. So she said all of these nasty things, and then she said that she personally doesn't have a social media account, blah, 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 which we know that she probably does have covert accounts. And I just do believe that she does watch and use social media, and it's actually been factually proven, because as we can see, here she is knowing that this is going to reach a substantial number of people reading out this book. And it's just quite, as usual with Meghan and Harry, what can you really say, contradictory. Just as much as their statement about the way in which they wanted to lead a private life away from the public eye, here we have them continually sitting in front of cameras, running around with mics wired in their clothing in New York, constantly doing everything to get attention in order to keep up with the Cambridges, who are 10 times better than them at the PR game and at the job. So let me get into this quickly because you've basically gotten the gist of it. So I'm just going to summarize what I've seen. Story time with Meghan. Duchess dons casual blue shirt and jeans to read her children's book, The Bench, from the garden of her $14 million mansion for a YouTube story channel for kids. She cut a chic figure in a blue shirt and jeans as she appeared on a children's YouTube channel to read her book, The Bench, today. She swept her hair into a sleek bun, which she always does. Let's face it, she's not very creative with her fashion these days. It's kind of pretty much taken a turn for the worst and gone downhill. Her hairstyles have always been quite underwhelming, to say the least. And she's probably put this outfit together with extremely expensive designer garbs that are essentially underwhelming. The video was shared on the Brightly Storytime channel, which is run by Penguin Random House, the publishing house which published The Bench, and with which Prince Harry also has a book deal. Before she began reading, she explained, "Today I'm going to be reading you my book called The Bench with illustrator Christian Robinson. I asked him to do something special for me and use watercolours, which isn't the normal medium he works in, but he did it to make it extra special. I wrote this as a poem for my husband and our son Archie, and then turned it into a book so you could enjoy it too." And a lot of people were in conflict over her latest PR attention-seeking move regarding getting paid leave for mothers on maternity in New York. It was a letter that was written about a real issue which does need to be addressed, which is a valid issue, but the way in which she delivered it, the way in which she was working 10 jobs, 13 years old, and struggling for gas money. So let me get into this. The $12.99 debut book by the Duchess was released in June and was inspired by a poem she wrote for Prince Harry's first Father's Day, the month after Archie was born, exploring the special bond between a father and son seen through a mother's eyes. It is not known if Meghan has received an advance for the book. And whether any of the proceeds will be donated to charity. Industry experts have suggested she could command a $500,000 advance alone. And we know that she has received an advance for this book, and therefore she's on this grind. She went to New York to promote this book to one of the most poorest communities, dressed in extremely expensive clothes, as I've already said, and the parents of these children more than likely probably wouldn't even have the funds to go out and purchase that book because they have other priorities. They have to pay the light bill, they have to pay the gas bill, they have to worry about travel expenses, putting food on the table, so on and so forth. So the promotion in itself, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be introduced to her literary debut, but it was kind of self-serving. It was all about the cameras that were there, the exposure that she was getting, the press attention that she'd get going to Harlem. So she was yet again using their disadvantages in order to try and bolster up the sales for this book, because she has taken this money, and it's quite obvious that she's taken this money. There's no real way that this woman, who couldn't even be bothered to just go to charity events and shake a few people's hands and stand and smile for the cameras and show her baby after he was born, is going to be doing all of this PR work if she hasn't gotten any money for it. She's all about the cash. She's all about the mega bucks. So it concludes, sitting on a comfy looking chair in her garden at her $14 million mansion she shares with Prince Harry and their 2 children, the Duchess completed her look with a smattering of glamorous makeup. I can't really see much makeup going on. She has a fine gold chain, but the reality of this is, regardless of what she was wearing, the makeup she had on, so on and so forth, she still put on her Cartier tank watch, which she always does, from Diana. The reality of it is that this is yet another example of her hypocrisy, because she said that she doesn't believe that social media is any good. She thinks it's a load of rubbish, it's toxic, so on and so forth. And here she is, a year later, doing everything she can to pop up on our social media feeds. And now she's actually on it herself. So with all that being said, guys, I will be back with another video. Bye, guys.